Growing up in Ann Arbor, I definitely didn't realize it at the time, but it was a very diverse and dense population of creatives from generations before us and generations past my own.
I used to get in debates with people because they were like, oh, Ann Arbor is the suburbs. And it's like, no, actually Ann Arbor is like the next unique town. I mean, it is a college town, but it just has a different attitude.
Ann Arbor to me is, a revolving whirlwind of talent and ideas.
I had this feeling when I arrived at Ann Arbor, had this really strong background in being forward-thinking and countercultural. And I would hear about student protests in the 60s and all the different jazz and rock musicians who came through and spent time in Ann Arbor.
The Ann Arbor music scene, all genres included, is a phenomenon. I don't know, what do they say? There's something in the water. With everywhere I've been and just talking to people, I'll be playing them something and eventually they'll be like, where's this from? Oh, Ann Arbor. Oh, where's this from? Ann Arbor. And then eventually they'll just be like, what's up with this place, Ann Arbor? What is this place?
My name is Isabella de Blasio. I am the program director at WCBN FM Ann Arbor. WCBN is a freeform radio station broadcasting out of Ann Arbor, Michigan on the frequency 88.3. The freeform ethos is kind of the DJ can play whatever they want, wherever they want, however they want. The stuff that's played on here is so across the board and often pretty off the walls. And you can tell as a listener that there's a lot of community kind of surrounding the music that's played and surrounding what's done here. It creates a practice of mentorship throughout the station. Not only can you find in WCBN a space to talk about music with your peers, but also with people that you probably wouldn't talk to otherwise.
This has been the most free I've ever felt in a music community because there's really no pressure. This is all ran by volunteers. Everybody that's here is here because they want to learn things and they want to learn from each other, not to prove anything to anyone. For the most part, it just feels like somewhere where everyone can come and learn about things together and really be themselves. Crush Collision is a techno and house radio show that takes place every Thursday from 10 p.m. to 12 a.m.
It was started at WCBN in 1987, I believe, and it's been going strong ever since.
So many techno legends that play all over the world have played this radio show, at U of M. It's wild. Drexia, Theo Parrish, Robert Hood, and Autechre.
It's had a pretty big range of hosts, some of who include Brendan Gillen or BMG, who's part of Ectomorph.
When techno was presented to me, especially Detroit techno, here's a revolutionary concept. It's a purely intellectual black music form that was like a catharsis for people under great oppression. It happens on a visceral level. It's like, it's intellectual, but you're doing it with your body as well. These kids who were Detroiters make the first Detroit techno release, Alleys of Your Mind, backed with Cosmic Rain Dance. When I was a DJ at WCBN, we had that in our file cabinets that had been given to us by hand by Juan Atkins. So the very foundation of techno happens in the peripheries of Ann Arbor. Like, most people in Ann Arbor aren't aware of that.
We were so close to this monster of culture and music that it was impossible for it to not be influenced by that culture. It's like being from Jersey. It's like you're New York. Like, that's where you learn about culture. That was Detroit for Ann Arbor.
So when I moved to Ann Arbor, I had a job line at NECTO. When I told my father that I was working at NECTO, the first thing he said, like, oh, you're working at the Nectarine Ballroom. And I'm like, none of that. It's the NECTO. And he's like, is the wizard still there? And I'm like, you mean Jeff Mills? And he's like, yeah, of course, the wizard. And my stepmom came into the joke of like, yeah, I used to go back there back in the day when she went to Eastern. And so these are like my parents telling me that they used to hang out in Ann Arbor to go see the wizard. So there was always a scene here, and it's always changing and like developing in different ways.
Black frat connections like move this music around. While I was in the East Quad, where I lived was across from a black sorority, and guys would come on Friday afternoons and be doing these like stepping routines to Force Field by Kevin Saunderson. That particular song is one of the like inspirations of the Berlin techno scene. So there's this huge like long history of techno in Ann Arbor before even like the white students realized that this is happening. So I felt like there was a revolution, and I wanted to share that with Ann Arbor as much as I could. I had this outlet on WCBN, so I changed Crush Collision from being industrial focused to Detroit, English, Belgian techno.
Well, my name's Jeff Hayner. I live here in Ann Arbor. I went to school here in Ann Arbor. I DJ'd when I was in college, house parties, dorm parties, and just really got into it. And so right now, I also still make music and I still DJ, and I went and got myself elected to city council in Ann Arbor. So I sit on city council. I represent Ward 1, which is the north part of the city. When I got involved with Crush Collision, somehow Brennan and I met, and I honestly don't remember how, but we basically, played the kind of stuff we liked, which was, dance music, techno. Techno started coming on board in the 90s, and we fully embraced that. I had a sort of a reputation as being kind of hardcore. Like hardcore techno is my thing. And so we're playing a lot of hardcore raves, playing a lot of parties. I saved a flyer or something as best I could from every party I ever played at. So yeah, let's look inside. Here's one in Detroit. Yes, that was pretty good, man. Some Mills and Rob Hood. That's power packed. And me, Mike Huckabee, who is a great DJ, and Brendan. Axis Records helped sponsor that. Journey Through the Hardcore. So that was Moby, UR, Blake Baxter, Kevin Saunderson, Claude Young, Alan Oldham, Jeffrey and BMG down there. We're doing our thing. This was in Ann Arbor. Pure fun at Nectarine. What can I say? It was pretty fun. Let's see what else we got. I'm sure there's something good in here. Here's a couple of those Metropolis tours. Jeff Mills of UR, he was part of UR at the start, as the Punisher. So that would have been when he was just letting records fly. Yeah, I played a couple gigs with Jeff Mills. I opened for him at some party in Hamtramck, and I don't have a flyer for it, but that was probably like one of my big highlights, because I thought, really? I'm going to play right before this cat? And he'd do this thing where he'd play, and he didn't have enough beats. He'd hit the platter like that, and it would just like go through the sound system, He's pretty intense, man. He's the real deal. Oh, here's an original poster from Crush Collision. We used to have flyer to get people to listen. We'd put flyers up around campus. Detroit Techno, Chicago House, and Electronica. That is us. It was just bringing new music to the airwaves. So we went down there. There's an air studio and there's a production studio. And the production studio had turntables and a mixer.
I was just learning how to DJ, and my hero was Jeff Hayner, actually. And He taught me how to beat mix. When it first started, we would just actually go to Record Time and buy records and share them. People would come to Crush Collision and it became kind of like a techno cafe. It was a culture. It was very alive. There would be up to 30 people hanging out, and it wouldn't be all Ann Arbor people. People from Detroit would come down.
Brendan would be down in the air studio and he'd conduct interviews with people. We'd have guests come down.
It became an influencer show. Like, what inspires you to be a DJ? Why are you like so crazy that you spend all your money on records and music equipment? Play me the music that led to that madness.
Crush Collision was happening, and I just used to come down and hang out at the show because there were so many people there and it was so interesting. I loved listening to the music, but Claude Young and Dan Bell and all these different people were coming down.
To say there was no social resistance to me trying to bring techno to WCBN would be a total lie. Everybody who told me it was stupid, I was like, so like when your parents said that to you about the music you were growing up to, were they right? Like, no, this is a revolution and you're about to miss it because you're being closed-minded.
Currently, Crush Collision is super open, just like the rest of the radio station. As long as you've been trained in the production studio, anyone is welcome to play Crush Collision every Thursday. It's still holding the tradition of bringing artists that pass through that want to play live on air.
I mean, it's just kept going. It's amazing that people have kept it up. It shows that it has value.
Well, my goal with what we did with Crush Collision was to create a foundation that would make it so that techno would be an institution in Ann Arbor, not just like something I thought was cool.
It was adjacent to the whole scene that was happening in Detroit and then the other parties that were happening around Ann Arbor at the time.
So a frat asked me to program music based upon like Detroit parties.
They had heard us on Crush Collision, somebody had in their frat, and they wanted us to come and play. And I remember we had just got some hot records from Cybersonic. It's just stuff people had never heard before. They'd be standing there going like this, like trying to read your label, There's definitely an energy in the room around new music, and I guess that's what makes it exciting.
It became actually like vibrant. It wasn't just like us or something at all. It takes a bunch of people to lift this up. It was never selfish, because it's like you have to build a community. It's not about you. In Ann Arbor, it can't be about you or it's gonna fail.
My name is Kat. I'm a student at the University of Michigan, and I'm a member of the Michigan Electronic Music Collective. MEMCO is a student organization comprised of student DJs, producers, electronic music enthusiasts, and event-goers, both student and non, in the Ann Arbor area. We throw parties at clubs, we teach people how to DJ, we hang out and listen to music with each other. When I joined MEMCO, I never really thought that I would be a DJ or be as involved with it. I just thought it was like, a way to meet other people who shared a similar interest. But then I went to a DJ workshop so I could meet other people. I started messing around on the open decks and I was having a really good time on them, trying to beat match and get it to work. And that's how I started realizing that I wanted to be more involved in actively participating in DJing instead of just enjoying someone's set.
To me, MEMCO is just this community that's super unique in that there's none of the boundaries that a lot of other music scenes have.
It's not like an exclusive club or anything. It's just very welcoming.
I guess we're trying to create this nice environment for music and dance.
We give people the tools so that they can be able to perform at these events.
The events are also very welcoming, and they're all about celebrating diversity, celebrating our different perspectives, and using music kind of as a vehicle for that type of celebration, which is really cool.
We want to dance to the music that we like. We're trying to get other people to love the music that we love. And I think that's the kind of space that is really created at MEMCO parties.
I feel like MEMCO usually throws a party once a month-ish, but any given weekend you can have MEMCO DJs DJing at a bunch of different parties all over. You'll have one weekend a DJ in East Lansing, in Ann Arbor, and in Detroit in the same night. Sometimes it feels like MEMCO's a label, low-key.
I would say that a lot of the MEMCO community, they're dancers at heart. Other people that come to see that, it's infectious.
We even have people come up to us and join MEMCO on the spot during parties, which is also really fun.
I think MEMCO does a really good job of pooling all the members' unique talents in the name of electronic music. We have people who are really good with visuals or making flyers or graphics, all these things that they're not directly electronic music, but they come together to make the experience enjoyable.
MEMCO, first and foremost, is a place to go to learn how to DJ.
When I joined, I didn't even know that was something I wanted to do, and now here I am teaching other people and being that person to them that other members were to me when I joined.
It's such a privileged thing to do, and I think by having these DJ workshops, MEMCO is bringing down those barriers of access.
I don't know anyone else at any other college who has that type of community saying, hey, we don't care if you've ever DJed before, if you don't have any equipment, we'll put you on, you can DJ this gig.
When I moved to Ann Arbor, I was also a college student, and when I got into a collective of people, a collective of DJs, okay, we all like the same music, now what do we do about it? The concept was to do one thing only, I think, was to break down barriers. And I think for everybody that's young, or hopefully even when they get older, they want to do something different and new, but still respecting the history and the roots. Because when you respect the history and the roots, then you can go much further than the previous generation.
I just think that party throwing and all of this is way more political than I had any idea getting involved. I try to just be really mindful of the fact that techno is black and techno exists by and for black people.
Techno music is about rebellion. It's about being yourself and just being on a dance floor with other people who are just trying to be themselves.
I've been thinking a lot about an ideal party world, and ultimately, how can this be a form of social justice? What can we do that's going to set this apart from just another party?
The MEMCO Annual Black History Month Party, it's an event that we hold usually mid-February, and I've never been to an event quite like the Black History Month Party that we threw, simply because it was a safe space.
For the last 2 years, they donated a portion of the proceeds to a different nonprofit that was Black-owned, and seeing how much money has been able to be raised and just seeing this happen 2 times has been affirming enough to know that it can happen and that it should.
The fact that MEMCO is having these events that are intentionally made to highlight, black DJs, female DJs, queer DJs, I think is super special because not many other venues or clubs are doing that.
We have this pervasive problem consistent over and over and over where the lineups are all men or all white men or all straight white men. So the first year I ran MEMCO, I was okay, I really want to invest heavily in people who are not just white straight dudes, and I want them to feel welcome.
When I came into MEMCO, I think it was Daniel's 2nd year being president, and he was the person who came up to me and he was like, yo, you have great taste in music, you're a really dope person, I need you to learn how to DJ. He's like, you're gonna learn, I'm not giving you a choice.
The first MEMCO party I went to, I saw a girl DJ and she was fantastic, and it made me feel like I can do this too, I can feel accepted in this community.
MEMCO is putting in the descriptions we are tolerating no fuckery, no hatred, no bigotry, no racism, nothing. You come into this space, you recognize what this space is for. People who don't hold these marginalized identities, it's forcing them to think about the space that they're taking up, It's saying that you can't just come in here and act a fool because we're not gonna tolerate that. I think it's setting a new standard for what a party should be.
MEMCO is not necessarily just a celebration of what clubbing is, it's really more about having students be in charge and have their own vision of what a dance music scene could be.
All of this exists as healing, as a way for people to move beyond whatever they were stressed out about during the week. It's like a way of coming together and just like shaking it all off and like feeling free.
I'm still doing parties, mostly at clubs. And so I was happy to have some people from MEMCO come out and play. And I think that's fantastic. I mean, hats off to the people who own these buildings for providing the opportunity for, musicians of different generations to get together. I don't know what to attribute that to other than the love of music.
So there's like deep roots for amazing interconnected counterculture in Ann Arbor. This is built into the techno revolution that students are continuing.
We're going to make something unique to Ann Arbor that's unique to the student culture and really kind of build from the ground up what we think our ideal dance scene is. One that's inclusive, one that has all types of music playing, all types of people dancing, DJing, and it's all our vision.